Welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that takes you through the lows, the lower lows, and the lowest of the lows of Formula One since 2010, and we're in that very season, 2010. And at race number 7, a race that a lot of people want to see back on the calendar, Istanbul Park, Turkey. And we're on a little bit of a not streak rather than a hot streak coming into this one. After scoring a point on debut way back in Bahrain, we have been blessed with nul point ever since, and had some pretty poor races in the meantime. Let's take a look at the standings and we'll talk you through the season. We are currently 17th, we've slipped 7 places since race number 1, as other people have started picking up points as well, but we are still ahead of the BMW Sauber of Kamui Kobayashi, the Williams of Rubens Barrichello, and then the 2 HRTs, the 2 Lotus, and the other Virgin Racing car, which is kind of where we want to be in terms of fighting the new teams and winning that battle. We're not aiming for the championship here in this car. And at the other end, Mark Webber leads the way from Sebastian Vettel, with Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton in close pursuit. Jenson Button, Felipe Massa a little bit further off. In the constructors, again, we were, I think, 7th after round 1, but we've slipped to 10th, but still just ahead of HRT and Lotus, which again is our absolute bare minimum aim, is to try and beat those guys. While Red Bull leading the way at the top from Ferrari, with McLaren not far behind, and then there's a bit of a gap back to Mercedes, Renault, and the rest of the field. And I mentioned that it's not been a great run, so we got that 10th place back in Bahrain in race number 1. We were fighting 4 points again in Australia. I think we were up at 9th place, fighting Michael Schumacher when we picked up a puncture, slipped down the order, had a half spin, knocked our front wing off. Everything kind of went wrong, and I think we finished around 15th. Malaysia was a bit of an anonymous race, just really lacked pace there. China, we had pace, and again we were kind of fighting for possible lower level points before spinning out the pits, crashing into our teammate and kind of ending his race, getting a penalty, effectively ending ours as well. Then Spain happened. The Spanish Grand Prix, we were disqualified after being lapped by everybody in the field. And despite the fact the only person who didn't lap us was Robert Kubica, because he drove into us and DNF'd on the spot, he finished ahead of us because we were black flagged. And it looked like we were going to actually fight back at Monaco. We went on an early long strategy on the prime tyre, moved up to 9th from 12th on the grid. It was all looking pretty good. And then the race kind of unravelled thereafter, and we finished right down the back in P23, maybe higher actually, but somehow 4 laps ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, who seemed to get stuck in like an infinite pit glitch. Poor guy. Never going to get a podium, is he? Anyway, on to round 7, Istanbul Park, a circuit I've not driven since it was taken off the calendar, which, if I'm right in remembering, I think I saw earlier on it was 2013, so we've only got a couple of years of Istanbul before that's long gone. And obviously it came back onto the calendar during the COVID hit season in 2020, and was a fairly entertaining race. And I think a lot of people remember certain moments. 2010 is one of those moments. But why don't we get into practice so I can relearn the track? And while I'm driving, I'll tell you a little bit about what happened in that 2010 Turkish Grand Prix. Round 7 of the 2010 season was at Istanbul Park in Turkey, and much like Spain, a few rounds previously, many teams arrived here with changes to their cars, both at the front and the rear of the grid. McLaren, Ferrari and Mercedes, for example, made changes to their F-duct system, while Virgin Racing finally brought a second, longer wheelbase VR01 for Lucas di Grassi after Timo Glock got the updated chassis in Monaco.
Your pace is down on what we'd expect to see in qualifying. Try to pick it up.
The championship race was also hotting up at this point, with Vettel and Webber tied at the top, both just 3 points ahead of Fernando Alonso, with Button just a further 5 points behind, while Red Bull led Ferrari and McLaren in the constructors But at the rear of the Constructors' Championship, Virgin Racing were already propping up the standings after a pretty dismal opening few rounds. In practice, McLaren and Red Bull once again topped the sessions, as they had done through a lot of the season, though Mark Webber did have some issues during the second practice session, stopping on track with an engine failure and then arguing with track marshals about preventing the car from moving backwards. Adrian Sutil was the only other driver to have major issues during any practice sessions, crashing heavily during the first session. Qualifying saw Mark Webber take pole position with Lewis Hamilton in second and Vettel completing the top three, while Fernando Alonso could only manage 12th in his Ferrari, feeling that he was lacking pace compared to his closest rivals. Once again down the back, Lotus won the new team battle, while Virgin Racing and HRT were split across the back two rows, Glock 21st and Degrassi 23rd. The race was one of the more exciting ones in the early part of 2010, Webber managing to retain his lead while Vettel and Hamilton fought for the first few corners, Hamilton coming up on top and remaining second. Further back, Sebastian Buemi ran wide after attempting to overtake Pedro de la Rosa, was clipped by Nico Hülkenberg, which left the Toro Rosso with a puncture and the Williams with wing damage, forcing pit stops for both. Glock and Degrassi stayed out of trouble, Degrassi having to start though from the pits after the discovery of an oil system issue. Hamilton and Webber began to follow at the front, though by lap 10 McLaren noticed that they were burning more fuel than expected and ordered both drivers to change engine modes to conserve fuel. McLaren then had further issues in the pits with Hamilton's left rear, causing him to lose more time, meaning that now Sebastian Vettel was in second and chasing Mark Webber for the lead, as the threat of rain began to materialise around the circuit. Webber asked Red Bull to advise Vettel to reduce his speed, which was rejected by the team as McLaren was still hot on their heels, and a lap after this, with Webber running a fuel-saving mode and Vettel on maximum attack, the pair collided on the straight run into turn 12, an iconic moment in Turkey. Vettel spun through a 360 and nearly collected Webber again as they approached the runoff, but Vettel was out on the spot. Webber continued with front wing damage only, but as Vettel walked away from his car, he gestured his feelings about Webber in a now infamous clip, gesturing that Webber was crazy. Due to the collision, McLaren now led the race, with Hamilton ahead of Button as a light drizzle arrived, but not enough to necessitate a switch to inters. McLaren still also needed to save fuel, so they were driving cautiously through areas affected by the rain. And a few laps after Red Bull's coming together, the McLarens ran side by side into turn 12 and again into turn 1. Hamilton though did manage to come out on top and began to drive away to a victory, with Button following second and Webber taking third with a wounded Red Bull. At the rear end of the field, Virgin Racing finally finished ahead of the other new teams, mainly owing to a double retirement and neither HRT crossing the line though. Chandok was classified after completing 90% race distance after pulling into the pits with a fuel pump issue. But even with the Lotus and HRT cars not finishing, the 18th and 19th for Virgin Racing, some 3 laps down as well, wasn't enough to elevate them above their rivals in the standings, and they still propped up the table. What should we be aiming for here then? It's not a circuit I've driven in a very long time since it was removed from the calendar, although I guess I've driven it a little bit in a few other Codemasters games, the likes of Grid. I can distinctly remember doing some touring car races, but not in F1 for a long time. So I've got some laps under my belt, but not necessarily in this format of open wheel racing, and as you've seen through the numerous spins in the early parts of practice, I'm struggling to remember how to get this one together. We've also been on a pretty dismal run since getting that point in Bahrain, so I don't want to aim too high. I want to just try and get a good qualifying lap under my belt, and then maybe build into any race from anywhere on the grid, really. So let's set the bar really low and go for 18th place. Here we are then, sat in the garage for qualifying at Istanbul Park, and practice has been fairly bad. Basically bottom in all of the sessions, and that's reflected in our qualifying target. You might notice as well I'm probably mixing up the format again. I'm still just trying to work out the best way forward for this. So maybe a little chatter in the garage beforehand, then I'll go out and we'll run laps, and then I'll talk over the best one. Let's try that, shall we, here in Canada. But qualifying for round 7 might be a painful one. Fastest lap in Q1, you can see that it's already moving into our 3rd lap of the session. We did spin at the end of the first and knocked the front wing off, and in the second just improved but not quick enough. But after falling to the back at practice, right, pretty much every single lap, found ourselves really getting into a rhythm. Sector 1 here, keeping it fairly neat and actually not getting too much wheel spin, and it seemed to really work out for us. As you'll see, we'll come through here at the end of the first sector, 0.6 of a second up, so already above a Renault, you can see in the stand-ins there, and right up there with Liuzzi and the Force India, but really reeling the time back in. Now, turn 8, struggled with all weekend, and you'll see that in the race as well. Just about keeping it in bounds here. Wanted to be able to keep it flat, but the car just wouldn't point. And then it was down into turns 9 and 10, a little bit over the curbs, but not too bad. And then it's this run through 11 up to 12.
Brakes are in the optimal temperature zones. They should be at peak performance.
Rob, the engineer, telling us the car is at its peak as we head down into turn 12. Get the brake in just about right here and keep it nice and tight. A little wide through that penultimate corner, and then a little cautious through the final one after already knocking a wing off in Q1, but over the line, 4th place and above Sebastian Vettel. It's the end of Q1, and in a result I can scarcely believe after how practice went, we end the session in P10, just under 1.5 seconds off Mark Webber, who's at the top, who's 3 thousandths ahead of his teammate. But I don't know whether it all just came together in those laps, because they were all pretty good until maybe I think the last one where I span and then pulled it into the pits. But we were as high as 4th at one point in the session. Maybe this qualifying session isn't going to be as bad. Behind us we've got Petrov, Rosberg, Schumacher. You'd expect them to maybe move forward in Q2. De La Rosa, Kobayashi, Buemi, Alguersuari. It's the new teams that are out, the rest of them, along with both Williams. Barrichello there in 19th, and Nico Hülkenberg in 23rd. And I'll keep occasionally doing that through the series just because. De Grassi there, 4.2 seconds off out the back. But should we move into Q2? This, say it quietly, this might be a good race if we're lucky.
Made some improvements to the car's bodywork. You should see a small reduction in aerodynamic drag.
The engineer giving us a little update there. We've got a little bodywork upgrade which is reducing aero drag, and I can't say that that will have made a massive difference, but will have made some kind of difference in that Q1 session. So we're into the top 17. Let's go out on track and see if we can make it into Q3 for I think only the 2nd time this season, and the 1st time since round 1.
5 minutes. There are 5 minutes of this session remaining.
So, onwards to our fastest lap in Q2, and as you can see, it's the final 5 minutes of the session in our second lap. We did the same in Q2 as we did in Q1 and span in the final corner. This time though, looking to try and keep it neat. We've got traffic coming out of the pits there, just trying to use a little bit of the drag, a little bit over the curbs and over the grass into that corner, but it didn't seem to cost us too much in the way of time. Once again, Sector 1, feeling pretty good, feeling pretty tidy, and coming out with a decent time of it, as far as we're aware, but really tight through turn 7, necessitating us to run wide a touch. Still got a car chasing me down, and I know that could compromise my lap if I get it wrong. Having to back off through turn 8, not getting the ideal line through there, but just about doing enough to keep the car going at speed through there. And then again, turn 9-10, ride the curbs just a touch, and then it's this kind of long straight through turn 11 up to turn 12. Still got that car behind me, you can see on the mini map. Worrying that they may catch up with the pace differential, but they don't send it on me into turn 12, which is something. Although I do run wide on the entry, but I could remain a little bit tighter through 13 and then through 14 once again, just being a little overcautious, but gunning it for the line. I'm putting it P9.
With that last lap time.
The end of Q2, and we're through. We're through again, and actually quite comfortably over Michael Schumacher and Nico Rosberg, down there in 11th and 12th. It never felt like I got laps right in that particular session, but seemingly did. 29.5. Still 1.7 off Sebastian Vettel, who's 4 thousandths of a second ahead of the Red Bull. Teammate of his there, Mark Webber. I would suggest that those two fairly nailed on for the top 2, but everybody else maybe a little bit closer together. We're actually only 1.3 seconds off Alonso, which sounds like a huge amount. I know where I'm losing it. I'm losing it in turn 8. But knocked out in Q2, Schumacher, Rosberg, Liuzzi, Kobayashi, Alguersuari, Boemi and Della Rosa. Scarcely believe I'm going to say this in my little Virgin Racing VRO1, but we're through to Q3, I'm fairly sure, for the second time this season. Can we move off of that back row of the top 10? Let's see what we can do in the final part of quali. So here we are then, final 10 minutes for the top 10 shootout of the Turkish Grand Prix. I can't believe we're here. You can see the objective for the team is finish 20th or above. We will finish at least 10 spots above that, at least. But it might be difficult to move out of the 9th, 10th region, but let's see if we can get some laps in for the final part of Turkish qualifying.
Okay, you need to pit before you run out of fuel. Pit within 2 laps.
So into our fastest lap in Q3, and as you can see there's only about 3 minutes left in the session. We're P8 at the moment, but we're 4 laps into the session, or at least on our 4th lap. We've been pushing quite hard, trying our best not to befall like P9 or P10 starting spot, see if we can move our way a little bit further up the top 10. Sector 1 again, fairly neat and tidy. Actually really seem to be getting a rhythm into that section. So it's a bit of a blur of corners, that one. Very quick succession with the speed that you pull in. It feels really nice when you hook it up. Turn 7, not so wide as we were in Q2. Managed to point the nose back in, and then turn 8, couple of little lifts, couple of bites at the cherry. We get out wide and then cut across a little bit on the inside, but no harm, no foul in terms of track limits. Down into turn 9, where we've been struggling all the way through quali, but this time nice on the inside curb and just drift across the outside. Again, that run up towards T11, T12, we're up again by 7 tenths of a second, and feeling like this could be a pretty decent lap to move us forward. We've slipped to P9 at this point with 2 minutes of the session left. We head into the final little sequence of corners and keep it fairly tight, seeing the tyre wear already starting on the front right. Get out with the throttle and try and straighten the line out of the final corner and get it a little bit wrong. But we still improve and we move up to 8th. And the final part of qualifying is over, and we do end up only making P9, but, and it's a big but, we were faster in one of our other laps. Just unfortunately ran a little bit too over the curbs at turn 2 and a bit pinged for track limits.
Good job.
As Rob chatters away in the background. So we might have even challenged Kubica for 8th, maybe even Hamilton for 7th, but 9th is where we start, which is still far and away where we should be from. We should be way down the back, considering as we were bottom in every practice session, some 5 seconds off. Qualifying just came alive, and I actually felt kind of locked in on this circuit, so it'll be interesting to see how the race goes. Vettel will start on pole from Webber, Massa then a little bit further back in 3rd, then is Alonso, Sutil, Button, Hamilton, Kubica, myself and Petrov. So that's qualifying done for Turkey. Let's head over to the race. You join us in the garage pre-race for round number 7 at Istanbul Park, and as you can see, it is wet. This will be our first wet race in this game, and I'm pretty sure we've only really experienced wet weather once in a practice session in Australia doing an R&D test. This will be the first time in the race we're experiencing it. I don't know if it's going to dissipate. Apparently it might. There's a 26% chance of rain, so we're going to start in the wet. Let's take a look though at the grid order. Vettel from Webber, Massa from Alonso, and then Sutil up there in 5th, ahead of both McLarens, Button, Hamilton, Kubica and Petrov in the Renaults, divided by me. I'm sat between the two Renaults in P9. Truly wonderful qualifying session. It really just all came good. Then it's Schumacher, Rosberg, Liuzzi, Kobayashi, Alguersuari, Boemi, Della Rosa, Kovalainen, Barrichello, Trulli, Senna, Chandok, Nico Hulkenberg, and Lucas Di Grassi at the back. The team want me to finish 18th. We're starting 9th. We've been on a really wretched run of form since probably Malaysia. I know Australia we also finished way out of the points and made some mistakes, but we were up there fighting early on, which is more than can be said for Malaysia. China, we were close. Yeah, we were fighting in the points. Monaco, but we also finished last and obviously disqualified from Spain. So I'd like to get back into the points. I'd like us to find ourselves finishing where we started. So I'm going to aim for P9. Hopefully, though, the wet weather will benefit us, and we can move forward and make ourselves a little bit safer. So let's get to the grid for the Turkish Grand Prix.
Start her up, car to track.
There we are, Vettel and Webber on the front row. There we are in 9th. Di Grassi right at the back.
We finished near the back of the field in the last race. We need to try and do better here. Get out there.
Just about to see the lights.
What you're made of. Good luck.
Away we go for a wet weather Turkish Grand Prix. And immediately we've got past Robert Kubica. We're going to try down the inside. We're actually going through all of them. Somebody on our outside, Button goes round.
The race in wet conditions here, mate, so we don't have to use both of the
Yellow
dry
flag,
compounds.
so we've got to be careful that we don't overtake anyone by accident as we all struggle. Sutil's gone past me, surely that would be a penalty, but we're actually staying with these guys. We were. So we tap Button and spin the car and slip all the way back to 15th. All looks so good. We were in P4 early on.
Go for the overtake. Go for the overtake.
Bounce off Barrichello and Schumacher goes up the inside. I've got to just try to keep it pointing in the right direction. It's mistakes that have cost us all season. do seem to be faster than the AI, so let's try and... Oh, straight into the back of Schumacher, who went weirdly defensive there, as we'll fight Buemi on the exit and we get past him. So let's try and climb back up to the front here. We started 9th.
Is coming into the pit lane. He's entering the pit lane now.
Down to 13th. Up to 12th actually. Somebody came in and passed De La Rosa for 11th. So we're back up to the edge of the points already, and everybody kind of actually stuck together still. Petrov is fighting Kobayashi up ahead. He's an absolutely mega start, the Japanese driver. I know a few people got stuck behind me as I tapped a button and span. We're right behind Kobayashi. The AI cannot get through turn 8 in the wet. So we'll make a move on Kobayashi and we'll aim for Petrov down at turn 9. Which way is he going?
You're in 10th.
He's going to the inside. The two Ferraris tapping each other. There's Hamilton, who I think was the driver that got stuck behind us, but he's moved back to 8th and we're now chasing them down. And there's a little bit of a gap forming up ahead, but it's not too insurmountable at the moment, I don't think, as Rosberg tries to go around Alonso. I'll go round Hamilton, the one-time world champion at this point, the 2008 world champion, stitched up by the Virgin Racing car, and then Alonso as well.
Someone's crashed in sector 1. Yellow flag conditions apply.
It says sector 1, it's yellow flag, so I've got to be careful not to overtake Rosberg. Come on, green flag. I think that's what caught me out with Button, and I did kind of chop across Alonso a bit there, and he lost a little bit of ground. The mini-map makes it... Oh, it's Rosberg's round. Rosberg's round. The car's going in. I don't know whether that's damaged, because it looks like they're about 5 wide back there. I looked up and just about saw a Mercedes pointing in the wrong direction as I cut curbs. Run wide. Hold position. Lose ground on Massa. We've got Buemi up in 7th in the Toro Rosso. Wet weather AI in this game known to not be the smartest, so this is an opportunity.
We're just ahead of Buemi.
I'm only 11 seconds off the lead. Really desperately just trying to keep it pointing in the right direction. Top 5 have spread out.
We have a slight lead over Hamilton.
Again, run wide as Massa's gone round, so that'll be a freebie. Thanks, Felipe. Too tight there, clipped the curb and then went off, and the yellow flag continues, and it's just me and Hamilton, so I think there's been some carnage further back. He tries to go for the outside, we hold him off, but we definitely have the pace advantage down here. We'll just ease into the inside, the outside.
Has just put up the fastest lap of the race so far.
Made a couple of mistakes, but they haven't been massively costly just because of the fact it's a wet race. Hamilton's gone in. Rosberg, or has he gone in or has he spun? I think he might have spun, because now Rosberg is behind us. And I just saw a car kind of parked up on the inside on the mini-map, so I think Hamilton spun. Degrassi still somehow last. Whether he's been caught up in shenanigans as well. Just about hold that one. Held my breath for a second there.
Chandok has just put up the fastest lap of the race so far.
Excuse me, Rob. Karun Chandok with the fastest lap so far in the HRT.
It might be possible to put intermediate tyres on you next time you pit. The weather seems fairly static.
Okay, Rob the engineer suggesting there could be a move to intermediates. Set the intermediates now just in case. Hopefully I'm far enough behind the guys up ahead that if they do go in, I will get the call. Rather than going past them and having to suffer another lap, because...
Button's got the bit between his teeth. He's just put in a new fastest lap.
Button, the third place man. Second or third is flying up ahead. Always feel like I'm maybe one move from a catastrophe, which would be about right for what we've seen this season so far, as I again run deep and I get another warning. Rosberg really is closing. On lap 16, don't currently feel like we're going to be moving to Inters soon, if at all. Second lap run wide into 7. Run away in 8 though, that's good.
We've seen a few cars come in and put on intermediate tyres. Pit in and change yours if you think the conditions warrant it.
Okay, Rob then saying we're going to Inters. Alright, fine. Giving me the option. Well, we see what those around us do. Rosberg's in, Massa's in.
Vettel's out in front.
Webber's in.
Next up is one of the McLarens.
Button's in. Kubica is in.
Okay, pit at the end of this lap. The pit crew will be waiting for you.
No call that the guys ahead were in, which is frustrating. I would have liked to have known that. Kubica has jumped Webber back there though.
Slow for the line and put the limiter on. Brake for the pit box.
There is everybody. And some gaps on this circuit. Into 6th, so we will lose at least one.
Don't forget to turn the limiter off.
Right, we lose one to Rosberg. Not bad, not bad, I'll take that. Oh, let's get used to our first running of the Inters in a race session. In fact, I think our first run of the Inters all season. If we can hunt down Nico Rosberg. Well, what conditions the AI are particularly fond of in this game. Run very wide again. Just judging the amount of grip we were going to have. Looks like though the AI might be quicker in these conditions.
Brakes and tyres are at optimal temperature.
Actually, if I do things like that, Massa goes by. Pushing too hard. Too hard, thinking they need to get away from Massa and close on Rosberg. He could have just settled in and looked to bring home 6th. Still in the points, still above target. Let's go. Ooh, nearly lost the rear end there.
Kubica has just put up the fastest lap of the race so far.
Bits of flying in the Renault up ahead. Massa's in. We're also going to go in.
Limiter on. Brake for the pit box.
Everybody's coming in now. There goes Massa. It's fair enough. As long as we beat the Wayne, which we do, we're on to the options. I feel it's going to be a bit skatey for maybe a lap.
Limiter off. Limiter off.
The AI think it's time, then let's go. Staying out the extra lap may have cost me on the inters. The wets to inters, but this time enough notice just seeing Massa pop in. The car in 10th I think just pulled in, so it's at least something. Well, the gap behind him wasn't that big. But Amy is closing. Toro Rosso and Sauber, the teams immediately around us in the championship. So beating Toro Rosso would be great.
Brakes are at optimal temperature.
Just got to try and close this one out now. Like the opportunities we had in Australia and Monaco, where we kind of threw them away. All the way through qualifying was good through sectors 1 and 3. Seem to have the pace on the
Tyres
AI.
are within the optimum temperature zone. Tyres are at optimum temperature.
We turn out in these sort of greasy mixed conditions as well as we've had in the wet and intermediate conditions, so that might be my saving grace, but we're not far away from the end now. That all wrong. Buemi's also got somebody just in behind him, which could easily be like Lewis Hamilton or Fernando Alonso, so I've got to be really careful.
We're just ahead of Buemi.
Toro Rosso closing after that mistake.
Massa's really going for it. Wow, he's just put in a blinder. The fastest lap of the race.
Massa ahead of us flying. It's the Force India that's just in behind Buemi. Grassi up to 21st. At least Lucas isn't last. Getting away a little bit through 8, so that's good. Ruin it into 9. I cannot seem to get the braking point for that corner right. Defend this 7th place with my life at the moment. Such a long time since we've made points. Such a dismal run in that time. The fronts are starting to go. Pointing in, keep it pointing in. Good, good. Through we go. Pull out a little bit of a gap on the lane. Won't be able to hear it in my voice, but I am tense here. kinds of wide there. Again, avoiding turning the wheel until I was off the curb. It's 9th, 10th, 11th and just about 12th there on the mini-map. Vultures are circling. Good thing we're a season away from DRS, because Boemi would certainly have it. On to the final lap. There's the Toro Rosso. Looks like he's got front wing damage as well. A bit cautious through turn 1, but that's okay. Okay, anything out until we cross that line. Had issues with that final corner. Sebastian Vettel takes the victory as we enter turn 7. Boemi still just at arm's length. More cautious through turn 8, but we still get away from the Toro Rosso. The race started wet. To 4th by turn 1. A spin threw us to 15th, and that could have easily been all that happened, and we just slipped back into obscurity, but we fought our way through in the wet. Ran as high as 5th. Made a couple of small mistakes, but nothing major so far. Wait until we cross the line. But we round the final corner at Istanbul Park. It's been a fantastic weekend for Virgin Racing. P7.
Seventh place, good job, really good job.
P7 and 6 points. We have septupled. That's probably not even a word, but we've made our points total 7 in one race. Breathe. That was tense at the end as Vettel took the victory from Button by 3.1 seconds. Kubica was in 3rd in the end. Not too far behind, and Webber was not far behind that. A little gap to Rosberg, and then Massa kind of cut away, and we were way behind in the dry. But that didn't matter. We'd already secured 7th place through the pit stops and through the wet weather. Boemi's 8th, Liuzzi's 9th, Schumacher's in 10th, Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, both out the points, Sutil and Petrov down there as well, Barrichello, Alguersuari, Kovalainen, De La Rosa, Chandok, Kobayashi, De Grassi finishes ahead of Hulkenberg, Senna and Jarno Trulli, who finishes a lap down, but that's our first points since round 1 after we had what could only be described as one of the slowest practice sessions I think we've ever had the misfortune of having. But we came through and we actually ended up taking 7th. What does that do to the standings? Well, we moved back up to 13th, which is where we were early in the season, jumping Boemi, Hulkenberg, Alguersuari and De La Rosa. Still no points for that little clutch at the bottom. Kobayashi, Barrichello, Chandok, Kovalainen, Senna, Trulli, De Grassi. And we're now just a point behind the Force Indias of Liuzzi and Sutil. So, are the Force Indias going to be our aim? Maybe. Petrov starts off our run in the top 10. Schumacher, Kubica, Rosberg, Massa, Button. 7 points now separate Hamilton and Button. 10 points separate Hamilton and Alonso. And then Vettel and Webber. There's a 26-point gap, so just over a race win for Mark Webber at the moment, but Vettel now hunting him down. The Red Bulls seemingly getting away from everybody else. In the Constructors, we move up to 7th from 10th. We jump Toro Rosso, Williams and BMW Sauber. We are, 9 behind Force India, which is not an insurmountable gap if things go our way going forward. And still at the bottom, HRT and Lotus with 0 points, but at the top, which we can now see on our little scroll, Red Bull well clear of McLaren, who were a point ahead of Ferrari. And then Mercedes and Renault cut further adrift behind. What a race. Can we do Turkey every episode, please? I think I said earlier it was 2013 that this came off the calendar. I think I was wrong. I think it might be one more Turkish Grand Prix, and then that's it. No more Turkish GPs for us. Everything just came together. The weather, I got into a real rhythm with the circuit. We made a few mistakes, but no major ones. And we weren't really punished for them. I think we only lost maybe 1 or 2 places from half spins. The field spread out really nicely, gave us the opportunity to consolidate. And then at the end, it was a little tense, but we just kept Bohemia at arm's length and kept him out of our wheel tracks. We're a point ahead of those guys in Toro Rosso now. 7 more points than Virgin Racing ever got in 2010. So we're already well ahead of our target on round number 8, I want to say. 7, 8, 7, wherever we are. We're well ahead of our target of beating Lotus and HRT at the moment and bettering Virgin Racing's 2010. But can we keep it going? Next up, my absolute favourite track on F1 to drive. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal, Canada. The Canadian Grand Prix will be the next episode. And if we can get a result here at a circuit that I had to relearn in practice and qualifying, what can we do on a circuit that I really, really enjoy? Hopefully you'll tune in for that. Maybe we can get Virgin an elusive podium. Who knows? Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do all the good stuff. I'll catch you on the next one. Take it steady. I'll see you soon.